You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today and we have another show lineup for y'all. I have a special guest, Ebony Turner-Bailey. She is a licensed speech language pathologist and the founder of Prime Speech Solutions. You go to the website, primespeechsolutions.com. But we're going to learn all about the backstory, how she got started. She is a graduate of Teachers College at Columbia University, and she also is deeply passionate about helping families understand, navigate, and advocate for their children's communication needs, especially when kids are misdiagnosed, diagnosed late, or overlooked in school evaluations. I want to cut right to the chase and say, welcome to the show, Ebony. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate you being here, especially on Sunday. I know we all do church either super early in the morning or a little bit later, or if you don't do church at all, hey, happy Sunday to you. This is the first time for I'm Refocused Radio recording on Sunday because high demand. So I want to say thank you so much for clearing your schedule on Sunday because I know everyone uses it as a rest day. So appreciate your time. So let's start with your background. Tell our audience, what was it like getting your training at Teachers College, Columbia University? How did that help shape your insight and your perspective on how you help families today? And just give us the scoop on that.
So at Teachers College, it was a really great experience because I got to dive into, since this was a graduate school program, I got to dive into doing what it is that I do, or close to it, every single day. And we got to travel to Ghana I got to travel, one of the students who got to travel to Ghana to be able to work with families and actually do what I do, practice, create materials in real time, short notice, out of just markers, paper, tape. And we help those families, even though some of them may not be able to communicate in English, the language we were speaking. We were able to use a translator and create images and with the help of the translator, some words to help them to work with their child to be able to communicate and use pictures to express themselves. So that was one of the things that really shaped my whole thought process on this. Like, I really love this. Throughout that experience at Teachers College, and through all students who go to grad school, they also have to do practicum as well. So we also do real world, but in your local community or in towns near you. And so we work with adults, children, whatever your interests are. And those were other opportunities where it really shaped who I am today and my passion for what I do. I was able to work in the VA hospital, local schools, and private practice, and all of those experiences really kind of defined who I am and my love for this career.
When you think about the importance of involving families and considering cultural context and supporting children with communication disorders, what are some of the things that you learned while you were in Ghana and Haiti and being able to help those communities?
So the Ghana trip was during school, and that really helped me to understand the importance of culture and communication. It gave me a sense of like grounding and knowing that, okay, what I do over in America does not always work in every place or with every culture. And I remember back in Ghana, we had to change how we interacted. So we had to use a lower voice. We, were a little bit calmer. And I know that home, we're, excited, we're bringing energy, and we're really trying to, be the party almost. And so it was a big switch. Something that I could switch to easily, but it helped me to understand, hey, you have to not only work with your child, but you also have to kind of read your environment and the people that you are with and come the same way that they are kind of coming, because you don't want to overstep. You don't want to be too much or too little, right? You just got to match that energy. And that was one of the things that I learned early on in my career.
Once again, this is Refocused Radio, and watching us online, talking to our special guest, Ebony. Go to her website, primespeechsolutions.com. My next question is, when you're looking out for early signs and common challenges, what are some of the early signs of speech and language delays that parents often miss?
Okay, so by 12 months, you want to make sure that your child is at least babbling, but if possible, speaking with single words. But if they are not at this time, you want to start to speak to the pediatrician and ask those questions. In addition, by 12 months, they should be pointing, gesturing, pulling you to things that they want. They should also demonstrate joint attention. So when they are playing with something, they should be also looking at that caregiver or that person they're playing with as if to say, do you see that? Did you see that? Like if they popped it, and did you, And so that form of eye contact and eye gaze and that little triangle of nonverbal or even verbal, maybe they're, babbling at the same time, that is an early sign. And if a child is not doing that around the age of 12 months, that is another thing that you want to communicate or show a concern for. If they are not responding to their name, if they are also not smiling back at you or engaging in some of those facial expressions as well by 12 months. By around 2 years, I'll just push it back. So by 16 months, children should be starting to say consistently single words, but then also start to go into saying 2-word utterances or phrases. So by 2 years, if they're not saying 2 words or simple phrases, this is another time that you want to contact that pediatrician to get some support or to understand where to go next. You should also look to see if any of the things that they mastered previously has regressed or it's no longer there. This is also a red flag. Something is going on and you need to make sure that your child is still meeting those milestones. And then by 3, your child should be using sentences to communicate. But again, if they're not and they're still at, babbling or they're still saying less than a sentence or 2 to communicate, then you really want to speak to someone because your child is not meeting their milestones and there might be something else going on.
What do you think, speaking of red flags, when you think about communication challenge in children, when you look in those who are dealing with autism and neurological issues, are there any things that concerns or should concern a parent, whether it's lead to late or misdiagnosis, because that can be an issue as well?
So a lot of those things, they go across the board for whatever difficulties, because many of those things are just developmental milestones. So if your child is not meeting it, then it could be anything that's causing the issue. It could be autism. It could be some other disorder. But if you get it early, a lot of times with the support of, other professionals or even parents doing some of the additional strategies that we suggest at home, you can circumnavigate. You can kind of reduce the deficit for your child. So it doesn't matter whether, your child doesn't have to show those delays and be autistic or have autism, but it does say that, hey, there's something wrong. It could be expressive delay where they're just a delayed speaker. It could just be a learning delay overall. And so remember, kids very early on, everything they learn is through listening and repeating. So, they're not able to read at this point. So you really need to look at some of those signs so that they can get to the point of reading and writing and all of the things later on. But they need those early developmental skills put in place before they can do anything else.
People talk about being an introvert versus extrovert.
Yes.
If a child is more quiet than other children, is that something to also worry about too, or not really?
So yes and no, because sometimes it could be a personality trait, but also it could also be signs of selective mutism. So you have to look at when and where your child is quiet. Are they quiet when they meet all new people? Is it for an extreme amount of time? Are they quiet, but they still say their wants and needs to other caregivers, teachers, or whoever they're with when their parents are not around? Or are they quiet and they don't even say, hey, I have to go to the bathroom, I'm hungry, I hurt myself? So they need to be able to express themselves. And if they're not, then there may be more than just an introvert quality. It may be that your child might be showing signs of selective mutism or something else. And just to explain, selective mutism is an anxiety-based disorder. And so while it is speech, it is also a little bit more. And so they may need a little bit of attention from professionals to get the help that they need to be able to express themselves. Because as a parent, you want your child to be able to advocate for themselves as much as they can at their age and cognitive level.
Once again, listen on Refocused Radio, watching us online, talking to our guest today, Ebony. Go to her website. She is the founder of Prime Speech Solutions. The website's primespeechsolutions.com. When you think about advocacy, parents who are listening, watching us, what are some good steps that they can take to effectively advocate for their child during school-based evaluations?
Okay, so one thing I like to tell parents is always go to the meeting with a friend, a family member, somebody, so you feel supported. And so somebody else can take in the information just in case you miss out. You always want to know what it is that your child is doing that is good, like positive things, before we start off with all of the things that your child is not capable of doing. Whatever they tell you, you also want to know, how is the support programs or the things that are being put in place, how are they going to help my child get to the grade level, meet the goals for the year? How is this going to improve their behavior, whatever it is that they need support in? And then you want to follow up. So you don't want to just let them go ahead and do whatever it is that they do. You want to check in just so that they know you are a parent who cares, you are involved, and so that nothing passes over you. Okay, so, and also you want to be able to come and speak to them and feel comfortable enough to come and speak to them when there are changes going on for your child that you need addressed, because you need to also know, are those changes happening at school, and how's your child performing under those changes, and if they need to help and provide additional supports.
Follow up on that, if parents are thinking, well, what are my moves that I can do if I want to or need to push back if they feel like their child's being overlooked in the educational system?
So again, if you have that relationship with those teachers, a lot of times the teachers will be looking out for your kid. But sometimes I've come across, when I used to work in the school system, I came across parents who just didn't feel comfortable, from even when they were growing up, going to school. So, you have to look past that feeling of fear, but you also have to look for, I need this for my child. My child needs this to be a better person. And so finding that teacher that you do feel comfortable with is great. Again, if you don't, finding someone who can come and support you while you go and you speak to someone at the school, because sometimes you just need that presence of another person. And then even if your child gets services outside of school, perhaps speaking to that professional to come and support you while you engage or have those conversations with the school staff, because they might be able to ask those questions that you're not able to develop and verbalize or express, right? And they might support you in that way so that your child is not missing the support tools that they need for being successful in school.
You also work with adults on professional development and communication skills. What does that look like on that side of your work, and what's some things that people can appreciate having knowledge that you're able to help them on that professional development?
So I help professionals with accent reduction or modification who may want advancement in their career and may feel like their accent is hindering that advancement. I also help professionals with social interactions at work, as well as helping them with interviewing skills or practicing their interviewing. And I would say that all the adults that I've worked with, they truly appreciate it. I've had someone get a job, leave it, come right back and try another one. And we work together to help improve her abilities or their abilities on getting that next position. I've also worked with many on accent modification where they just didn't quite feel confident in themselves. It wasn't even always about, it was hindering their ability. However, they talked all day long, doing telemarketing or answering phones, and they just didn't feel confident when they communicated. And so in those instances, providing them with how it is pronounced here, helped them to gain the confidence that they needed to be able to feel good when they went to work and feel successful.
Our website is primespeechsolutions.com. When you look at the options that people have with technology, it's always something that's developing super fast. A lot of different resources, a lot of people using AI. I can't get away from that. It's always been a hot topic. What are some things that you feel might be useful or, maybe put some caution on?
So I would say, this is a good question. The caution, I think, should be on too much use of just simple screen usage, especially at young ages. For little ones, they really need that human interaction. They need the relationship between them saying ball, them holding a ball, and drawing the connections there. And while they might see that on a screen, it's almost like passive learning for them. And so while you're giving them some educational content, because they're not interacting with it and they're not seeing like real facial expressions and real responses and language that is used in their household commonly, they're not drawing any connections, and there's sometimes a big disconnect. And I do have a number of parents who come and they ask me, my child is not speaking. And, then I'll ask very simply, what does your child do for much of the day? And they'll say, yeah, he watches his shows on maybe YouTube or something like that, or he watches his tablet. And so, or his caregiver at the time, she doesn't quite talk to him as much as she should. But, they just go there 1 or 2 days a week, and then, they go to daycare the other days. So that direct interaction is what children thrive on. It's how language grows. And so that access to technology too young for too long can be limiting language production, social skills, and just learning how to play. Children are sponges, and once they're given the right input, they can really thrive. But if they're not given it, it doesn't come across the way that it should for the rest of us. So I would say that, yes, because majority of the people I work with are little kids. And so a lot of times that is our biggest hurdle to overcome in inputting more real-time language and getting them to, interact and engage.
Once again, this is Refocused Radio. Listen to us. Go to our website, refocusedradio.com, to catch this episode. We're talking to our special guest, Ebony. She's the licensed speech language pathologist and founder of Prime Speech Solutions. The website is primespeechsolutions.com. Our next question before we wind down too fast is when you look at resources and broader impact, you look at how sometimes in underserved areas, how can families find trust in not just speech therapy resources, but also what role can they play into making sure that their kids are actually making progress?
Okay, so I am a part of an organization, ASHA, and most, if not all, speech therapists are. You can always go there to understand developmental milestones for speech and language development. That is, Mayo Clinic is also another one. And they provide you with real supportive information, and parents should go there if they want to know more. Or feel that I'm messing up. Hold on. Can you re-ask the question? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're good. Basically, I was saying when it comes to resources and broader impact in underserved areas, how can families find trust in speech therapy resources, and what role can they play to make sure their child's making progress?
Okay, so you can go to asha.com and get those resources. That is trustworthy and gives you information on a child's developmental milestones, not only in speech and language, but other information as well. You can also go to Mayo Clinic. That also provides with developmental information about children. And for underserved populations and everyone, because really development is development overall.
I appreciate that. When you had time to reflect on the work that you've done throughout the years, what's one key message that still kind of surfaces up for you that you find is a great actionable step for families to take when it comes to making sure that their child's communication needs are met?
I love to tell families, if you could spend just 15 minutes, undivided attention, no TV, if you have other little ones, put them to the side, find something for them to do, and you focus in on that one that needs that extra input of language, and just really give them that one-on-one attention where it's their world and you're playing on their level with the things that they are interested in and the way that they are playing. So you're not pushing forward your agenda in play. If they're throwing the toys, you're throwing the toys too. and maybe you can put a basket under it so you can say, oh, this is cleanup, right? Like, so you can develop it in a way so that it's not messy play, or it feels comfortable to you. But really, I find that when parents do that, they see a huge difference in their child, and they gain a connection that they may not have had before, or continue to build on the connection that they've already formed.
Well, you've been listening to Refocused Radio, and you can catch this interview on refocusedradio.com or subscribe to our YouTube. I have never plugged our YouTube like that. So go to our YouTube channel, Refocused Network, and you can catch this video and shorts and other content as well. We've been talking to Ebony, founder of Speech Prime Solutions. Go to her website, primespeechsolutions.com. If you have one last message for our audience, maybe a call to action, additional resources, what would you want our audience to know?
Parents, always think about your child and what you want them to do to be successful in the world. So when you do that and you put that first, then your child is going to thrive. But you got to remember that you need to look at where your child is, and then find those supports that your child needs to be successful, and those people that are going to make your child's life a better one, if it's not already.
Well, like I always want to say to you, Ebony, thank you for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure today.